the speaker series. Today's date, Savannah. So let me introduce myself first, because I know a few of you, but I don't know a lot of you. So I am a teacher at Portola High School. I teach English 4 and I teach AP Language and Composition. This is my 7th year teaching, and I wasn't always a teacher. Prior to teaching, I worked in marketing and advertising for 8 years, and then I also worked in journalism for 3. I went to UC Santa Barbara, and my bachelor's degrees are in English literature and women's studies. And I think in the back of my head, I always wanted to be a teacher, but I pursued journalism first because it was kind of my other love, which, had a weird segue into marketing. But, after a little bit of time, I did come into teaching, and it is the most rewarding thing for me. And I truly love what I do. I am a mom. I have 12-year-old twin boys. And then you can see that picture of my family at Disneyland. We're looking forward to that day we can end up getting back. And the only thing not in my picture is my little dog. So I love dogs. Okay, so what I decided to title our session together is Take What You Need. And this should look familiar. I'm sure you've seen this either maybe at a bulletin board at school, in my neighborhood. People were posting these in telephone poles and, light posts and stuff like that. So, and the reason I picked this was when Ankith and Jada asked me if I would do the speaker series, the first thing I said was, what are you thinking? Because like I said, what I do is I teach, and I teach English. So I thought, what, you did not show up today for another English lesson. So I wanted to talk about something that I thought was maybe relevant and timely. And especially since we're still in the beginning part of the school year, maybe a way that you can reframe your focus and maybe try to find some balance when things get a little bit stressful or overwhelming. So I picked five things. So support, calm, fun, strength, and change. And we're going to talk about those 5 different things, or maybe we can call them principles, throughout today's talk, and sort of the different ways that each of these things will, like I said, hopefully help you find ways to manage your stress, find the little joys that surround you even during these very difficult and strange times. And then also, to find your inner strength to go out and do those things that matter to you. Question, I feel like I heard someone. No, good, okay. All right, so as mentioned earlier, please make sure you have a blank sheet of paper and a pen or pencil ready to go. Colored pencils, markers, whatever you want to write with. Like if you have, a marker set and you want to make it colorful, that's fine. If you just want to use a pencil, that's totally up to you. This is personalized to you, but we're going to take some notes together. Our first one is support. So through this, I have some different quotes to just give us some things to think about. So Terry Pratchett was a science fiction writer and a humorist, wrote a lot of satire as well. And this quote, sometimes the only thing you could do for people was be there. You kind of think about what that might mean. All right. One of my very favorite ladies, Amy Poehler. Hopefully some of you are familiar with either her work on SNL or in Parks and Recreation. Last year, when my seniors were graduating, our very last class, I used a clip from the last season of Parks and Rec when Amy Poehler speaks to one of the graduating classes at the university. And one of the things she tells them is to go out and find your team. It actually came out of a speech that Poehler herself gave at a Harvard commencement in 2011. What I have discovered as a person in this world, and that is this: you can't do it alone. Find a group of people who will challenge and inspire you, spend a lot of time with them, and it will change your life. So like I said, I told myself last year, go out and find your team. People need other people. And that's really how, when we are having a tough time or struggling with something, one of the ways to get through is to lean on other people. It's also kind of our responsibility to reach out and help other people when we see someone who might need some help. So, like I said, go out and find your team. It's important to surround yourself with people who listen to you, who lift you up, who challenge you to be at your best. And I want you to think about who your teams are right now. You can have a lot of different teams. Your family can be a team, your friends can be a team. And if you haven't already caught on, we're thinking about teams in like the metaphorical sense. I'm not actually talking about a literal sports team, but that might be your team. But think of a team as a group of people who support you, who listen, who challenge you, and really help you be at your best. So we're going to start with that note paper. In the upper left-hand corner, I want you to write down one of your teams and write down the names of the people on your team. This can be your closest friends. This can be your family. This can be extended family. This can be maybe a club that you're part of at school. And like I said, you can have lots of different teams. I do. I have my team at home. That's my family. I have my team at school, my teachers that are my close friends that I work with. And I have like other teams in my community. I have friends. I have some other mom friends and I call my mom squad, but they're my other team. So think about one of your teams, maybe the team that's most important to you. And I want you to write their names down. So I will do this. I'm going to do the exercise with you. So right now we're all writing down the names of our team members. Once you write down the names of your team members, don't laugh, just do it. I want you to draw a heart around your team, okay? So you're writing down the members of your team, and then you're gonna draw a heart around their names. So you should have something that kind of looks like, I'm trying to get this into the thing, kind of looks like this, okay? So upper left-hand corner, the name of the members of your team, and then I want you to draw a heart around your team, okay? Why am I having you draw a heart around them? Because they're honestly probably people that you love, okay? And while it may seem cheesy, like I said, just go with it. Now, I'm gonna describe our team. On the left side of the heart, you're going to write a word that describes your team. On the right side of the heart, you're gonna write down a word that describes something that you do for your team. So left-hand side, what is a word that describes your team? So my team, I wrote down my family. So I wrote down the name of my husband, I wrote down my 2 sons, and I wrote down my dog. And the word, if I were to pick one that describes them, is smiles, because they make me laugh and they make me smile all the time. So on the left-hand side, I'm gonna write smile. So I know sometimes I have a tendency to move quickly. So I'm gonna slow down for a minute and just make sure everyone kind of get caught up. Yes, I can show you my paper. Are you able to, I hope you're able to see it. So then I'm going to write down, awesome. I'm going to write down the word that describes something that I do for them. So I'm going to put support. I help my kids with their homework. I listen to my husband when he wanted to talk about work. So I think one of the things that I do for them is support. So if we're looking at my sheet of paper, I have my heart with my team members' names in it and the 2 words. So I wrote down smile and support. Your words are going to be whatever you thought of first. This is not like an overthinking activity. It should be the first thing that comes to mind. And so when you look at the sheet of paper and you're like, I'm not feeling great today, it will remind you of your team. And then positive words that you associate with your team. All right, so like I said, this is take a minute to let everyone get their teams down. You can continue to work on that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next item. So I wanted you to think about who these people are in your life that mean something to you, because it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to offer it too. You should never feel like, someone's not going to think I'm capable if I'm asking for help. That's certainly not the case, right? So recognize when you're struggling and reach out to those people that you know will support you, right? And if they don't have the answer, maybe they can lead you to someone who does. The other thing too, like I said, I wanted you to think about what you do for your team, because it's not just a take relationship. It's a give and take relationship. It's about what you're giving to your team too. So recognize the people around you and notice when they might need a little something from you, a kind word, a compliment, a check-in, whatever it is. Again, this goes back to people need other people. They make our lives so much better and they help us navigate the world. Now, I wanted to address the idea, like, what if my teammate is not being a team player? That's okay, it happens, right? You're not always going to get along with your team. You may have a disagreement with your team, but that's how we learn too, right? So it's an opportunity to work things out and it helps us navigate difficult situations. I'm sure you've had a disagreement with someone that you love. You figure out how to work it out, right? No team is ever going to be perfect. And the beauty of it is navigating and coming together when you need to talk about something difficult. All right, we're on to our next item, calm. Right? How do we find some serenity, some peace? So our quote here is, it's all about finding calm in the chaos. And these definitely feel like incredibly chaotic times with what's going on with the pandemic, the barrage of negative news, the current fires in the state. I mean, it's pretty easy to find information that is not positive right now, right? So what do we do when we're surrounded by so much of this? Well, one of those things we can do is stay active, right? And I know this is kind of like a well, duh moment, but sometimes I think it's good to be reminded that getting up and moving around is really good for our physical and mental well-being. So, these are, like I said, these are kind of like, okay, I get it. They're obvious statements, but I feel like sometimes we forget because they're so obvious. And I think it's been tough too with having to stay indoors and having to stay apart to remind ourselves that we need to go outside and get some exercise. It improves your mood, it boosts your energy, and it helps you get better sleep. And there's so many, free ways to get it done. I like to go on YouTube sometimes, and I have, a couple fitness people on there that I like, and I don't have to pay for a class. I can just go on there and I can do, a 10-minute yoga session or whatever it is. But find those ways too. I mean, if you have a pet like a dog, find that time to go on a 20-minute walk. And don't worry about doing anything else when you're doing your exercise. If we're trying to multitask, we can't let ourselves be in that one moment. So doom scrolling is killing your vibe. When Ankit and Jada asked me to do this, I knew this was actually one of the things I wanted to talk about. When the pandemic started, I think I watched hours of news in the morning. And I do, like I said, I'm a former journalist, so news is kind of my thing. I love information. And I follow the LA Times, the New York Times, I have news apps on my phone. But I did realize that too much negative information can really impact your emotional and kind of your physical well-being, right? It can lead to a lot of anxiety. It can lead to a lot of worry. And sure, there are a lot of things to worry about right now, but there's not a lot of things that you can do. We have to recognize what things are out of our hands that we can't do anything about and focus maybe on those things that we can. So this is from the New York Times, but doom scrolling combined with screen addiction can take a significant toll on our mental and physical well-being, according to health experts. The activity can make us anxious, angry, depressed, unproductive, and less connected with our loved ones and ourselves. So what it is I'm not at all telling you to not go and watch the news and to, cut off all information. What I'm suggesting you try and find is a balance of how much you need to actually take in. Because I found myself watching the news for a couple hours in the morning, having it on like in the background, especially when, distance learning was so uncertain last year. And then I would check all those news apps on my phone. And then I would look at the people I was following on social media. And then I would watch the news at night. And it was too much. It started to feel overwhelming. So what I did was I only watched the news for about half an hour in the morning when I get ready and I turn the television off. And then I wait till 6:30 at night and I watch David Muir's nightly news. I'm not telling you to watch him. What I'm telling you to do is to, so I'm seeing a question, doom scrolling. Doom scrolling is just, so like if you have your phone, it is looking at a lot of negative information. It's following, like if you read a story that has, some sort of negative impact and you just keep watching it and you just, all you're doing is taking in a lot of negative information, okay? Does that make sense? I'm trying to make sure I'm trying to watch that chat too, so I can answer this question. So doom scrolling is like, let's say your social media feed is everyone's complaining, and all you're doing is continuing to go through it and go through it and go through it. All you're reading is a lot of gloom and doom. And I think part of it is there's so much uncertainty. So there's a lot of like negative news stories that come out, and it's important to stay informed, but it's important to know when it's time to disconnect and just get what you need. Like I said, for me, I decided that at the end of the day, I wanted to watch this half-hour news program that gave me the news highlights, and that was enough. And you know what? It felt a lot better to kind of disconnect. So what I'm suggesting is you find, which news outlets or which places you want to get your information. How much do I need? Am I getting too much and making myself worry? Okay, hold on. This is a new one for me. That's why I'm like, so during the annotation. Okay, sure, why not? What did we want to annotate on here?
I think that happens when someone accidentally clicks, it like freezes the screen.
Oh, okay, because I was like, oh no, how? Okay, all right. I wasn't sure what to do. I was like, ooh, this is a new feature. Okay, all right, so back to doom scrolling. So it's the idea of just taking in so much negative information from a lot of different sources, primarily online, okay? So how do you combat this? Set a timer, right? That's what I did for myself. I started just taking in like 30 minutes of news at the end of the day, and I decided that was enough. Could I spend the whole day watching news? I could, but was it good for me? No. Stay cognizant, which just means stay aware. Also think about where you're getting from news. Is it a credible source? Is it something that tends to lean on being a little hysterical and sensational? So like I said, I'm not going to tell you where to get your news. That is entirely up to you. But also think about how much do you need to stay informed, and how much is maybe feeding into some, existing negativity that might make you feel anxious or, anxiety or whatever it is. Also, maybe you're following someone on social media like an influencer, and all they're doing is talking about negative things. Maybe, take a little break from them and follow something that's positive. So John Krasinski from The Office, I think they stopped, but he was doing something called Some Good News. And it was a show where all he was talking about was positive news and positive things. So find those things, because it makes us feel better when we watch a news story about something good, or we hear a story about something good happening, because then we feel like, you know what, hey, I can go out and do something good too. All right. Self-care versus self-indulgence. So I think part of calm is caring for yourself. And this was actually a concept that I read about over the summer, this idea of self-care versus self-indulgence, which is going to bring me to my other Parks and Rec reference in a second. So we do need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves physically and mentally and emotionally, right? Taking care of yourself physically means going out and getting some exercise and things like that. So sometimes we confuse self-care with self-indulgence. And I'm not saying that it's never okay to self-indulge. Just know that self-indulgence is more like a treat than anything else. So self-care is truly understanding what you need in order to thrive, in order to feel like you can get things done, and prioritizing those needs instead of only working to meet other people's expectations, right? It's not just about meeting what you think people think you should be doing. It's about doing what for yourself, ultimately takes care of you, right? Now, self-indulgence are those things that comfort you. That is the pint of ice cream on the couch at the end of the day, which, you know what? Do it. But don't do it every day, right? Because then it's not a treat. That's the thing. Self-care are regular routines that help you keep healthy in all those different ways. So self-care can be exercise, meditation, journaling, practicing gratitude. Also, self-care shouldn't cost anything. You shouldn't have to go buy something to take care of yourself, right? Getting enough sleep, calling a friend, that's self-care, which for a while, I honestly thought self-care was going to Sephora and buying a lot of face masks. I mean, it's a nice thing, but I mean, after that, at the end of the day, I can't do that all the time. It's going to get pricey. So, like I said, this was a little bit of a breakthrough I had over the summer. Like I said, true self-care doesn't require you to buy things. Instead, they're habits that help you maintain a sense of balance. Now, self-indulgence, Do it every once in a while, but it should feel like a treat. So again, for all my Parks and Recs fans, you should know the Tom and Donna treat yourself. But if you remember, treat yourself day happens once a year. They don't treat themselves all the time because it's not a treat. So yes, find that time to have the Netflix binge. Go out and get a Sprinkles cupcake because they are delicious. Treat yourself to something nice. But if you do it all the time, you kind of start to feel guilty because either maybe you're spending too much money or you're eating too much junk food. Those things should feel like a treat, and it's totally okay to do it, but doing it all the time isn't really self-care. Like I said, that was something I learned over the summer, because honestly, when I'm like, ooh, I'm going to self-care by having a brownie, that is not self-care. That is a treat. Okay, finding your calm. That's going to look different for everyone, right? Consider the differences between self-care and self-indulgence. We're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of practice that right now. But thinking about what's going to help you achieve that sense of balance and that sense of self-care is going to be different for everyone, right? Your calm might be yoga outside, or it might be going for a run, or it might be drawing. So you have to figure out what your calm looks like for you. Okay, so ready? Paper time. Upper right-hand corner. So now we are going to fill in the space next to the heart. So we're going to practice a little bit of self-care right now. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to write down 3 positive traits about yourself. What are 3 things that you like about you? So write those down in the upper right-hand corner. You can write 1, 2, 3. You can put heart. You can put like 3 bullet points of hearts, or so, whatever you want. Like I said, make this, like, personalize this for you. And I'm just writing mine down too. I told you, I always tell my students this: if I make you do the things, then like I should probably do the things too. So somewhere next to that nice list of things that you like about yourself, write self-care. It can be like maybe on the side, maybe above it, but wherever you can find some space, right? Self-care next to those 3 things. 3 things you like about yourself, 3 positive things. And I know that you could write more than that, but for the sake of the activity, we're just going to do 3. Trying to let you guys have a couple minutes to think about it before we go to the next part. So this is the self-care part. I love a good treat, so we're still going to do that too, but we're going to think about it as a treat. So below that, you're going to write down a way that you're going to treat yourself and the day for this to happen. Okay, so think about a way that you would like to treat yourself, and maybe it could be like, I'm going to watch all 2 seasons of Cobra Kai in one day. I love that show so much. Or maybe you're going to, bake a cake, or you're going to buy that pair of shoes you were eyeing on DSW's website. Whatever it is, think about the indulgent thing that you want for yourself. Or maybe you're just going to have a day where you play video games all day. Whatever it is. So you're going to write down your treat yourself item and the day you want it to happen. And then somewhere next to that, write down treat, or even if you're feeling it, treat yourself. So now you should be looking at a sheet of paper, and there is a heart with people that care about you and support you and that are your team. And now there are 3 great qualities that you recognize about yourself and one way you're going to reward yourself. All right. Now, fun, which kind of like goes a little bit in aligned with, treating yourself. So kind of our segue to that. Now, do anything but let it produce joy. Walt Whitman, which I'm sure you have encountered this man. I liked his picture too because he looked like he was smiling. I'm sure you've encountered this man in some of your English classes, wrote a collection of poems, Leaves Grass. So here's the thing. The reason I put fun in here is because I feel like it's really important for us to find fun. It's important to find fun in a lot of the things that you do. Like I find fun in my job, and I try and make the experiences I have with my students fun because it boosts our mood. It makes us feel good. And I think it's so easy to fall into not feeling great because of what's happening in the country and the world. But it's still important to find those moments of joy and to find that fun. This was from an article I found, The Importance of Fun. Don't forget to have some fun every day. Find that moment to laugh. Don't let yourself fall into feeling joyless because it kind of makes you start to feel dull or sick. Again, like our mental mood can also help like our physical mood too, right? If you are laughing and you're joyful, you're going to feel better all over. So there is a list of some of the ways that, fun has health benefits, reduce stress, it's the ability to cope better concentration, better sleep, improved connections with others. So also you might think of like, how do I have fun with my team? Like, what are some of the things that we do? And like I said, sometimes we have to be a little creative because our fun might look different. I mean, pre-pandemic, my family, one of our, fun things was going to Disneyland. Honestly, we can't do that anymore. So we've done, Disney movie nights. Like we watch a Disney movie together. So, because we can't go there, but we still find ways to have, have fun. And sometimes our fun looks different. Now, okay, so finding ways to have fun. Underneath your teammates, trying to make sure I'm like holding it the right place. So underneath your heart, I want you to draw a box and then write fun at the top. I'll show you my paper. So kind of like that. So draw a box underneath your heart and write fun at the top. And then I want you now to list 5 ways you like to have fun and try and keep those things that you can actually do. Like I'm not going to put Disneyland in my box because I can't do that right now. But I want you to think about 5 ways that you like to have fun and keep them things that you can do. And then just, as a reminder, your fun should be positive, it should be safe, and it should make you smile. So right now, think about 5 ways. Oh, what are you going to do with these notes? We'll talk about it at the end. But I like how we're thinking ahead. So right now, 5 ways you like to have fun. And again, like I said, please keep it to things that you can actually do now. Okay, so here's where I want us to take like a minute to share, because sometimes when I think about like how, we like to have fun and what activities, I used to read, when my kids were really little, a lot of blogs, like mom blogs, to see like what people were doing in Orange County to give me ideas of things to do with my kids. So I thought it would be fun if we share in the chat one of the ways that we like to have fun, because someone else might be like, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe I'd like to try to do that. So again, safe fun that is COVID safe too. But what are some of the ways that you enjoy having fun? What are some of the ways that you have fun? So we're going to go ahead and put put something in the chat. I will start us off. Oh my God, cooking. Yes, same. Drawing. Family walks. I have gone on so many more walks since I started. Oh, cool. Look at all these different ways that we like to have fun. Eating hot Cheeto Puffs. I like how they're hidden in your pantry. Dancing, yes. Oh my gosh, I'm wearing a fancy outfit and going for a long walk. I am inspired right now. I'm going to get dressed up for my next walk and not go in sweatpants. Quizzes, I like those too. I love, I decided I wanted to do one of those like personality tests again that decide, like tell you if you're like an introvert and extrovert. These are kind of fun. Dance classes. This is great. So like I said, I wanted us to share out for this one so that we can kind of see the different things that people do. Peaceful music, right? You don't need a reason to get dressed up. I love this. FaceTime. One of my close friends who doesn't live close to me decided to create a book club. So we're having a virtual book club, which I'm excited about. I mean, I love to read. I mean, it's fun. Listening to records. Nice. All right. I love this list of fun things. So now if you want, you can maybe add a couple of those things to your list and you'll have more than 5 things. All right. So let's keep going. We're going to move on to our next thing. Strength. Okay. Get ready because we're going to set some goals. These are difficult times, right? Let's not kid ourselves. It's okay to say that it's hard right now because it is, right? It's hard to do a lot of things. It's hard to learn the way that we have to learn. It's hard to teach. It's hard to work. So we have to find that inner strength that helps us keep moving forward, that helps us push to just, continue to be better and to achieve the things that we want. And I think some of the ways to stay strong are some of these items that I have listed here, except that some things are out of your control. And I have to remind myself sometimes because I'll get worked up over something that I hear. And then I realize I can't actually do anything directly to change that. So I need to not worry about it and worry about the things that I actually can change. Allow yourself to grieve and feel all of the feelings. It's okay to have sad moments. And if you see in the corner, I have a picture of Inside Out. Just probably one of my favorite Pixar movies. And I'm not ashamed to say that I cried like a baby at the end of that movie. Actually, multiple times. I cried when like Bing Bong didn't make it out of the cave. Maybe I ruined it for someone, but go watch it anyways. I cried at the end when Riley reunited with her parents. I cried really hard. I don't think I've ever cried that much at a movie before. And one of the things this movie tells us is that we don't have to always feel one way. It's okay to feel a range of emotions. That's how we stay emotionally healthy, right? Joy, another Amy Poehler, I love that woman. Her character Joy tries so hard for Riley to be happy all the time, but doesn't realize until the end that some of these memories that she was looking back at, they were actually sad times. And sometimes we can't move on from something that we don't feel good about unless we allow ourselves the space to feel sad. And then we move on. And then we feel that joy again, or, disgust or anger or fear or whatever it is. But you have to move, allow yourself to move through these emotions. And like I said, I wanted to put that in there because I feel like this film really normalized the idea that it is okay to feel different emotions. We're supposed to. It's honestly creepy if someone's happy all the time because then you're like, what's going on? So it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel mad. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel fear. But you just can't let yourself feel that one thing all the time. Okay, then we kind of have to question what's going on. So reframe negative thoughts if you're having too many of them. Take joy, find that fun, and then learn from the past, live in the moment, and prepare for what's next. Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved. We come out stronger because of the difficult things we experience and go through. So that's why, like I said, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel those range of emotions because you will be better and stronger for it. That is how we grow. So like I said, we're going to set some goals together right now. And I'm sure that you have a lot of them, so you can focus on something that you already maybe want to achieve. So I think one of the ways to harness our strength and to get us to move through something difficult is to set a goal. And we all have them, but the thing is, how are we going to achieve them? So what we're going to talk about is a method called SMART goals. And I've done this with, I did this with my students last year. And I do this to myself too, because I will put goals like, I'm going to read, I think was in my Goodreads, I was going to read 40 books this year. I'm halfway there right now, but I had to really think about how I was going to do this, because once I start teaching during the school year, it's hard for me to find extra time to read because I have to go back and examine the books that I'm teaching. So I had to like make it a little bit more quantifiable. So let's talk about what a SMART goal is. It's not SMART, like it's like not SMART is an acronym. Okay. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So essentially this is an action plan. So when you figure out what your goal is, you go through these steps and you think about how will, yes, it's not new. I'm sure you have probably seen this before, but I like this method a lot because it makes us hold ourselves more accountable and actually come up with a plan to achieve that goal. Okay. So specific. So the example I'm going to use for this, which is it's my SMART goal right now, is to be more healthy. That's so broad and so general. So how am I going to make it more specific? Measure. How am I going to find evidence that I am making forward progress with this goal? Attainable. What will it look like when I reach it? Okay. And then how reasonable is it too? Relevant. So how relevant is this? Can it actually happen? And then time-based. Think about setting a time frame, because I know, like myself, I work best when I'm under a deadline. If my goal has no deadline at all, then I will keep pushing it off and pushing it off, pushing it off. So if we give ourselves deadlines, we are more likely to hold ourselves accountable. There's a great TED Talk on procrastination that talks about the sneaky trick about procrastination is if we don't have a deadline, then we push off long-term goals. So that's why our SMART goals come into play, because once you create an action plan, then you've given yourself deadlines and checkpoints to make sure that you're on track. So what does a SMART goal look like? So let's say the overall goal was, I want to lose weight and be in better health. Okay, that's fine. That's great. Everyone, I don't know, everyone wants to lose weight, but everyone wants to be in better health. But a SMART goal is going to get more specific. I will focus on my food habits and I will begin to lead a healthier lifestyle. So through my food habits, I'm going to lose weight and lead this healthier lifestyle. Specific. So how am I going to make this happen specifically? I'm going to stop eating so much chocolate. I'm going to cut down on junk food as the first step, right? I'm going to cut out some of that extra sugar. Measurable. So by December, I'm really just going to have healthy snacks in my pantry. And I know myself, because if I have candy in the house, I will probably eat it. So if I don't and I have to go out and get it, I'm less likely to, right? Achievable. I'll see a nutritionist or maybe talk to my doctor, or I will read something online on how to design a healthy eating plan. Relevant. So this will make me feel better overall. Maybe it'll help with me with any feeling tired, not having enough energy, lower back pain, whatever. And then time-based. In September, I'm going to change my habits. In October, I'm going to start walking more. By the holidays, I'll be able to indulge a little, but without ruining my habits. So now is the time to revive that goal. Yes. So I'm looking at the chat right now. Yes. Being too ambitious, right? So honestly, this really is my goal right now is I need to get a little healthier so I have more energy. I need to get better sleep too. And I need to change my eating habits so that I don't feel weighed down when I eat and I feel, better. And I'm, fueling my body with good stuff. But if the goals are too big, it's too daunting, right? Yeah. Overly ambitious makes it harder to achieve. Absolutely. So that's why this idea of making it realistic hopefully helps you. So now, time to set that goal. So below treat yourself, you're going to do your SMART goal. So first, I want you to write goal. Okay, so we're going to write down goal, and I did it underneath the treat yourself. And first you're going to write down your goal, whatever your goal is. Try and narrow it down too. Try not to be too broad. Like be a better student is too broad. Okay. Think about more specifically. Cause I know at the beginning of the year, I asked my students like what their goals are for the year. And a lot of them say to be a better student. Okay. But what does that actually mean? Can you get more specific? Right. Maybe your goal is that you want to get into a certain college. Okay. So that's a pretty specific goal. Now let's break down what you have to do to achieve it. Or maybe your goal is like you want to learn a new skill. Okay, what is that skill and how are you going to do it? But I want you to think about your goal, write your goal down. I'm going to write mine down too, except we're all doing this together. So after you write your goals, so I wrote mine down, get in better shape by changing my exercise and eating habits. Then you're going to write the acronym SMART below. I'll show you. So I wrote my goal up here, and then underneath I wrote the acronym SMART. Okay, so for the S, specific, right? So like I said, mine was, ooh, okay, that's a good question. If your goal was to limit your screen time, what is a recommended time? So we have to be realistic about this, right? Because part of your screen time is spent with school currently with distance learning. So you have to recognize that there is that amount of time that you're already on screen. Now, if we're talking about the screen time that maybe you're using for like, I don't know, watching movies or like games or things like that, like maybe something like 2 hours a day. I only say that because that's my benchmark for that is because that's kind of what I give my kids. But maybe 2 hours a day isn't realistic. Maybe you want to start with 3 and like pare it down. So just a suggestion. Like I said, I went to 2 hours because that's what I give my kids after they're done with school. They have 2 hours to kind of either play video games or watch a show or a movie, and then they got to kind of do other things. But initially, if you're finding that 2 hours is like not enough or too much, you can kind of adjust based on that. And then, you know, maybe start with like, if you're used to spending a longer amount of time on the screen, maybe like every couple weeks, cut it down like 15 minutes until you get to that. So what if we said after school? So like I said, my kind of like after school screen time, I feel like I kind of shoot for around 2 hours. But that works for me. Because I'm also trying to like make sure I go to bed at a reasonable time. And, you know, kind of like laying in bed and looking at a screen. There's so many things on how blue light's not good for you. But like I said, you could try for 2 hours or you can maybe try 3 and see how that works. And then also what you could think about with a goal about screen time is think about how you're using your screen time. Maybe you don't want, you know, that, so let's say if it was 2 hours, maybe part of that 2 hours, you think like, maybe I'm only going to spend 20 minutes on TikTok or 30 minutes on TikTok. I went to TikTok immediately because if I said Facebook, you'd be like, nobody goes on Facebook. This old lady does. Then I want to see what someone else says in the chat. It never works because I set a limit and I just ignore it, but maybe being more mindful when you're doing things. Okay. All right. So like I said, maybe thinking about how you spend your time on screen. So like maybe you're going to take a deep dive into Heart of Dixie on Netflix, or you're not, and whatever show you're going to watch, right? I just end up talking about the shows that I did. But maybe like today, I'm going to allow myself like an hour of Netflix, and then I'm going to, ooh, bullet trackers. I like it. You know, 20 minutes on, you know, social media, or, you know, 10 minutes scrolling through news or whatever it is. But maybe think about how you're spending the time on screen so you can be more intentional with it. So maybe the goal isn't necessarily to limit screen time, to be intentional with the ways that you're using screen time, and to maybe limit certain things that maybe you try to want to get away from. So that might be something you can think about. So specific, it's like I said, try to narrow down what your goal is and be as specific as possible. Okay. And then let's see. measurable. Okay, so how are you going to know that you're making progress? How are you going to measure that? And maybe the way you're going to measure it is a bullet tracker, or maybe you're going to measure it by like setting, notifications on your phone for screen time, or whatever it is that you're doing. Achievable, how are you going to know that you achieved it? Make it something within reach. Relevant, is it something that matters right now, right? And then time bound, so set some limits for yourself. So think about trying to just, jot down some bullet points in that SMART acronym. So I'll give us just a couple minutes to fill this part in. I'm just watching time to make sure I can get through all of this. I was worried about filling the hour. Now I'm looking at it going, oh no, I gotta hurry. Jade is laughing because she knows I'm terrible. I always go over. So right now, fill in that SMART. So specific, how are you going to measure it? How is it going to be achieved? Why is it relevant? And T, what is that deadline? So I'm filling that in for myself right now too, right? Like I said, we're all going to do this together. So when I did my bullets for, I was going to say, I know I started talking to you, but yes, you're probably already done because you continue taking notes while I was talking, which is what you should be doing. I think I was trying to catch up with you. So like I said, hopefully you found ways to create an action plan. Like I said, that's what SMART goals are about. They're about making our goals more specific and less broad so that we can truly achieve them. And also, I think it makes us more reflective. That's totally fine. If you only have 2 to 3, that's okay. You have to adjust as to what works for you. It doesn't, like I said, if you want to adjust the format a little bit, that's totally fine. You don't have to follow it exactly. Like I said, what I like about this process is that it is intentional and it aims to hold you accountable by creating a plan. All right. Now, our last one, change, which I wanted to end on change because I think there is so much that we can do, not only to like better ourselves, we can constantly be doing and finding little ways to help ourselves feel better physically, emotionally, and mentally. But also we have to look at what we can do outside of us and to change within our community to make things better. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. You don't have to be a large group. You can be an individual and you can still make change. So how can I create positive change? And it's hard right now, right? Like I said, it is a weird time right now. It is a scary time right now. It is a sad time right now. It is all those different adjectives. But what can you do? Instead of sitting and dwelling in what's wrong, how can we move forward and think about how we can make it right? So I want you to reflect on, there's so many different issues. And again, this is incredibly personal. So I want you to think about what issues matter to you. I mean, there's social justice and Black Lives Matter and Me Too. There's the environment, there's poverty, there's equal rights, there's, animal rights. There's so many different things. And we cannot address them all, but we will tend to work more efficiently and with more passion when we find the one that matters most to us. So, and then what can you do? You can educate yourself. You can read, you can research, you can discuss with people, you can watch things. Notice that educating yourself, all of those words are verbs, right? You have to do things to educate yourself. And again, when you're picking a cause or you're picking an issue that means something to you, it probably feels less like work because it's something you care about. And then the other one is to use your voice. And this is finding a platform. Yeah, you can totally modify your goal. Yes, please modify and change it. Absolutely. This needs to work for you. Revisions are a part of everything. I always tell my students that trust the process. Like everything we do is a process, and you can always modify and change whatever you need to do. Okay, so back to finding your voice or using your voice, not finding. Maybe you need to find it too, but using your voice. So find a platform that works for you. Maybe it's social media. I follow like a lot of like my friends and colleagues post a lot of things regarding social justice, and it's helped me educate myself. So maybe your platform is social media. Maybe it's writing letters to local, state, or national officials. Maybe you want to reach out to your local news organization, or maybe you want to create or join a club in your school or community. But there's a lot of different ways that you can enact change. And it can start on a small level and it can maybe grow into something larger, right? Or maybe if it's your last year in school and you're thinking ahead to college, you start looking at what opportunities are available to you to further involve yourself in whatever issue you've selected when you go off to school outside of high school. Okay, the world needs you right now. It really does, right? I would say you guys are going to be the ones that are going to fix things. Because I think Gen X has either sat back and not done enough, or maybe we ruined it. Hopefully not. So brainstorm underneath the fun box. This is our almost done, almost last item. So under the fun box, this space right here, you're going to write down the word change. Okay, you're going to write down the word change. Make sure I'm holding it in the right spot. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to identify an issue that's important to you. So you have to pick this. There's no wrong answer, because what is important to you is what's right. So you're going to write down whatever issue is important to you. And you're going to write that under change. So that you write down your issue. After you write down your issue, so you have your issue down. Mine is social justice and gender equality. You're going to write down why and how. Okay, so why and how. I wanted you to do this because these are the two most important questions you ask yourself. Why do I care about this? How will I do something? So answer the why do I care about this? Why is this important to me? It's just a statement. It can be a fragment of a sentence. It can be bullet points, whatever you want. Yes, it doesn't have to be big. So I'm just looking at the chat. I'm trying to keep in chat. Yes, like volunteering, educating yourself. It can be little things. It doesn't have to be something big. I like that we brought that up. Yes, positive change can be small things. You can't get to the big change if you don't start somewhere. And sometimes a small change is a great place to start, or a great way to start. So think about why you care about this topic and write that down, okay? So like I said, I wrote down social justice and gender equality. This is what matters to me. Yours could be completely different, and it should be whatever matters to you. So, and I put why because there's so many things that are happening that are incredibly unjust right now. And also I have two boys, and I feel a sense of responsibility and duty to make sure I'm raising humans that are going to create positive change and not more problems. So, like I said, I feel like I need to know what's going on so I can, try and raise my kids with more empathy. Maybe meditation. I'm looking at that chat right now, other than yoga, maybe meditation, because meditation is not, because I've actually been trying to do meditation. And it's just, taking those quiet moments. Also sometimes like high activity might help that too. Yoga might be a little too slow, maybe going for a run or doing some more active cardio. Yeah, I would maybe try to do an activity that, kind of gets you to exert more energy, because I know feel like when I feel like I'm angry, I have to do something to like wind myself down. And then how. So how I'm going to do it, I'm going to put, for mine, I'm going to put educate. I bought a bunch of books over the summer that I'm reading. Also, I felt like it was important because I had to do things in my classroom to create like a better sense of diversity, especially what we read and teach. So now you should have filled in what your issue is that is important to you, why it's important, and maybe how you're going to start doing things about it, right? And they can be small. Like I said, mine right now, I'm reading, not really, that's not going to change the world by reading, but it's going to change my mindset and it's going to educate me more so I can talk about it with a little bit more knowledge. All right. One last thing. Anywhere on the sheet of paper, I want you to write down the words, I am capable, anywhere you want. I'm going to, there's space next to where you put your goal. I'm actually going to write mine down the center. And yes, you have to put the exclamation point. You do, okay? And I'm very stingy with exclamation points. I don't like them, but for this one I do. So I put mine down the center. I am capable. You can put yours wherever you want. So now, if we take a look at what we created during our time together, you have a sheet of paper where you have a list of people who love and support you. You have reminders of what your great qualities are. You have a promise of some way you're going to treat yourself. You are reminded of the ways that you can have fun. You have a goal and you've created an action plan on how you're going to achieve it. And you've thought about what matters to you in terms of issues of what's going on. And you have thought about why it's important and how you're going to go about making change and making positive change. And then know that you are incredibly capable of doing all the things. Not all the time, but you're incredibly capable of doing all the things. Just, give yourself the space to take a break, take a breath, feel happy, feel sad, do all the things. But that brings us to the end of our time together. So I want to thank you for showing up today. Hopefully you got something out of it. And hopefully now your positive intention sheet is a reminder of some good things. I'm going to stop my share.